position.
Cabral wants us to mine some clips, for like using at the beginning of the video.
So people can have a funny haha.
Yeah.
I know he left in the fucking goo from the previous one.
He did. I actually, you know what I did? I sent it to him separate, and I had him put it in just because he was like, "You don't have any bloopers." I was like, "I guess we do have a blooper if you want it."
No, it's because we're professional. We got this. We're used to this.
Yeah, that's right. We've been doing this shit longer than Cabral's been in diapers, which he's been in diapers for a long time.
I can't believe I was doing this even for my dad's balls.
And then that's where it'll go. Because I was recording this whole time. All right, you ready to jump into it?
I am ready to jump into it.
This is the part you're actually supposed to cut out, dumbass. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Double Dip Draft Season 5. We are on Week 6 of the Crown Division. I am your host, Spood of the Southtown Sandslashers. Joining me, as always,
it's Aurora, coach of the Hunchbook Hunters, and it's Week 6. 4 more matches have been played on the Crown Division side, and we're going to have a look at them.
That's right. This is actually a do-or-die week for a handful of these players. We were really looking forward to it as of the end of Week 5's video, where we were talking about who needs to do what to qualify for playoffs. At the moment, coming into this week, it was like, okay, Skittles takes another loss and Firebolt takes another loss. They are mathematically eliminated. If Nihilus takes another loss, he is mathematically eliminated. There was a lot of... It's very close down there at the bottom, but as many as 3 different players could have been fully mathematically eliminated going into Week 7. And I would like to know, Aurora, if that happened. So we're going to actually rip off a Band-Aid here and do this opener, which is Cabral095, coach of the Hashslinging Aegis Slashers, versus Kenneth, coach of the Ne'er-Do-Well Nido Kings. Kenneth coming off of a rough loss to Mass, an upset that has not secured Mass the 4th spot, but made him the most likely candidate, I think, by a country mile to slide into the playoffs. He has the most easy, straightforward path to get there. He just has to not lose his Week 7. But of course, Kenneth was put into a bit of a precarious spot here, where if he dropped to Cabral and then dropped to Firebolt after losing to Mass, then he would fall out of playoffs contention potentially, depending on the results of the other games. So, for Kemet, this was one where he needed to dust himself off and say, alright, I may have gotten upset by Mass, but I'm not going to let Cabral do the same thing. Conversely, Cabral actually can win or lose this. He's one of the only other players besides Mass that has a decent shot of getting into playoffs, given that he has an extra win to work with above his competition below. And since Mass, at the moment, currently only outpaces him by a single win, if Cabral manages to take this, then it's going to be essentially Cabral versus Mass for Week 7. But then if Cabral loses this and Mass loses his next match, then it's still Cabral versus Mass for Week 7 to determine who gets into playoffs. So basically, this match for Cabral was a take it or leave it. The best thing he could have done was salvage differential to make it more likely that he could get in over Mass in that event. Whereas Kenneth needed this win, I think. I guess he didn't need it, but he'd really, really like to have it.
Yeah, he definitely appreciates it, and it like secures his spot a lot more because it puts him in a place where he can't be knocked out of it anymore.
Right. The second that Kenneth got one more win, it would make him guaranteed in with Scoots and Vincent, who were, I believe, already at this point confirmed in.
Yeah, they're hard confirmed. They're locked in. They're sitting pretty. They're just, shining the wine glasses up in the luxury suite.
That's right. I'm really excited too. That's a Week 7 battle. Is going to be Scoots versus Vincent. That's going to be dope. We'll talk about that later when we're breaking down the rankings. But right now, Cabral versus Kenneth. 3, 2, 1, go! Hey, look, it's Cabral versus Kenneth. So,
it's very interesting that you refer to this as ripping off a Band-Aid, because that implies it's happening fast, but
yeah,
that's definitely not what's
this
is
more
here.
like ripping off a mile-long Band-Aid very slowly. This is less, actually, you know what? This is less like ripping off a band-aid and more like waxing yourself. Like going to a salon and like getting like your hair just ripped out of your body. And I mean, that's not to say that this is a game that people played poorly. Also, look at that agency dodge on the underwave. This is not a game that I think either player played poorly, necessarily, but it is a game that, due to circumstance, ended up, well, a spoiler alert, this shit runs for over 100 turns.
Yeah. Granted, just barely, because my god, if you like run heavily over 100 turns, it takes forever.
Yeah. Well, it could have run longer. Essentially, we'll get there. You know, I don't want to spoil the outcome yet. But basically, both of these players are not running a lot of strictly attack-invested sets. It's a lot of defensive utility play on both sides. Really, the dynamic of the early game is Cabral wants to get in this Zygarde, because Zygarde at a +1 like Dragon Dance with 1,000 Arrows is actually just going to put in huge work versus this whole team. Whereas the only Pokemon he cannot get through is Unaware Clefable with a bunch of physical defense investment.
Yeah, which is exactly what Kenneth brought here, hence why the 1,000 Arrows from before did fuck all.
Yeah, it did like 30, I think. It was a pretty comfortable 4-hit KO barring any crits, which is a little too much given that obviously Zygarde can't recover the same way that Clef can, and it also is very weak to Moonblast. Kenneth gets off a good trick there as well.
Yeah, neutralizing this, at least like the reliable recovery on this Sylveon.
Yeah. And really, you'll see a lot of positional play coming. Honestly, this is kind of a staple for the rest of this replay, but especially right now, and sort of, believe it or not, this is, I think, well, I guess we're still kind of in the early game. You see Linoon goes down to E-Speed. Kenneth is at least able to scout the set from there to be like, oh, okay, I got like 1,000 Arrows into E-Speed. I think he already showed Dragon Dance sub.
Yeah.
So he knows the full set. He knows what it can and can't do. He knows that Clef has no worries of getting glared, which could be annoying.
Yeah. No, like Secret Iron Tail or something that's packing.
Right.
Or Iron Head.
Yeah. And Kenneth as well is just constantly forced out. That is a pivotal turn, incidentally. The Scarf Surfetched gets off the Steel Wing, kills off the Alolan Ninetales, and Hail Abuse is now a lot more difficult for Cabral. I don't believe he has any manual hail anyway.
Yeah, I do find it kind of funny how the scarf that got tricked into the Sylveon actually threatens out the Surf Edge.
Yeah, I think it's actually very funny.
Because it could have forced out the Sylveon again, but Kevin didn't want to risk it.
Yeah. But really, now I think this I would consider the mid game, and this is where Cabral is forced to play for positioning a lot versus this Clef. He pretty much needs to force it to go to sleep, because if it falls asleep, or even if it gets parried, which I don't think Cabral could do.
I'm just kind of surprised that Cabral didn't go into Sand Slash there.
I think I get it, because like you get in Zygarde in front of Clef, and you either force it to go to sleep, and you can like sub up in front of it, or you can get off like a really devastating 1,000 Arrows, kill Rotom, get good damage on anything else that comes in.
I guess it just kind of depends on what the Rotom's packing.
Yeah, which is true. It was a trick Scarf set, so I guess if you're packing like that, you know, Volt Switch Overheat, Trick, and then whatever its fourth move is. Cabral did have some interesting tech where he was running Misty Terrain on Ninetales, like manual setup for Misty Terrain, which I think I understand in the regard that Cabral doesn't want to get burnt on Zygarde from Rotom Will-O-Wisp, potentially, if he can't kill it in one shot, which I think he could. I mean, it's quad weak to 1,000 Arrows, and Levitate doesn't help at all, but you know, just in like a weird hypothetical. I mean, it was Scarf Trick, so it could have been like Scarf Will-O-Wisp, not like the weirdest thing we would have ever seen. But didn't end up panning out. And you see here, I mean, this Clef, like, he can get it semi-low, but he just doesn't have enough pressure to keep Clefable from hard-checking his Zygarde. And without his Zygarde, he has a really tough time getting in on this team. Especially because Clef, unaware, pretty much hardwalls Crook and Zygarde with the set that it has.
Yeah, it's also a question of, like, the hardest hitting thing Cabral has on the physical side is 117 base power from the Crook now.
Yeah. And you see this Clef, again, just does not have any trouble taking these 1,000 Arrows.
Yeah, which again, it really goes to hammer home. Like Zygarde's physical attack is only base 100, which is fine, but it doesn't break walls, and this Clefable is a wall.
Yeah, this Clef is really, really hard for Cabral to break through without a crit, essentially. He doesn't have good coverage to hit it outside of, like, the Sand Slash, potentially, which has not been coming in.
Yeah, Sand Slash just sort of, like, sticks in the back for this whole time.
Yeah.
And it is sort of a question of, like, Cabral could have potentially gotten rid of these rocks once or twice with a Rapid Spin.
Yeah.
It also, like, increases the speed. So, like, maybe he can get something done from there, but it just never comes to that.
Yeah, as well as, you know, Kemet does have Dragapult in the back that can spin block, although it's a risky, you know, bring, because it could get knocked, or it could get, like, Ice Sharded or Triple Axled or whatever.
Yeah, Icicle Crash, something like that.
But it's at least a 50-50 that you can force. You know, you can either force it to try to spin and you spin block it, or you force it to, like, attack and you could go into, like, Rotom and then overheat or something, you know.
Yeah, and like from this point onward, it's just a lot of switching back and forth, trading one blow, switching back and forth, trading one blow, and Cabral is very, very slowly losing it. Just due to less recovery and the rocks.
The thing that I do want to touch on Cabral's side that we haven't talked about yet, you may have seen it as it keeps coming out, is this Vaporeon. Vaporeon is Aqua Ring, Haze, Rain Dance, Hydration, and Scald as its fourth move. And this set is hard-walled by Water Absorb Seismitoad on account of its immunity. But it also does a great job of walling what Kemeth has shown. You know, Seismitoad set can't get through it. Rotom potentially can't get through it because it really, I think its only electric move is Volt Switch.
Volt Switch.
And the Aqua Ring recovery just stacking on top of what I believe is like a specially defense invested, like HP invested Vaporeon. This thing kind of just takes hits all day.
Yeah, especially if Kemeth can get like the read on the Scald left and right and bring in the Seismitoad to eat it up with Water Absorb.
Yeah.
You know, on top of the leftover recovery that it already has.
Right, and the Haze just forces, like, Clef can't get off Calm Minds, and you couldn't get, like, Dragon Danced on or whatever, potentially.
Yeah, so you just end up in this scenario where, like, you're just repeatedly stalemating.
Yeah. And, honestly, I think at this point, I'm going to put the replay into Hyperfast, which is something that we don't usually do. I don't even know if we're going to finish the replay, but I'd like to at least get to the 1v1 at the end.
Yeah, because we're not at the end of the deaths from both sides yet. That actually happened, so Rotom falls.
There we go. Yep. Rotom dies, he sacks Sandslash to close combat, which is kind of a questionable play, I think, given that Sandslash was really the only thing he had that could deal with Clef.
Yeah, and the Zygarde is just, like, so close to being a corpse.
Yeah, the Zygarde, basically, Kemeth got off rocks, and he was able to Toxic the Zygarde as well. So it was getting slowly worn down despite having leftovers recovery every time it swapped in.
Yeah, like it was taking damage from rocks, taking damage from Toxic, which means the leftovers get counteracted next to like very slightly you end up in the red.
Yeah. And it's
unfortunate. Combine that with like taking hits over and over again.
Yeah.
Can't keep it up forever.
Seismitoad just, you know, needs to stay topped off. I believe Cabral does manage to knock off the leftovers on it after a certain point, so it loses its passive recovery. And if Cabral had... I don't think he could have necessarily foreseen the Seismitoad, like, wall being that much of an issue, but if he was able to kill the Seismitoad, it's entirely possible that this Vaporeon could have won the game by itself from here. Kind of in a similar vein to how Greedent was able to do it versus Scoots. But it doesn't, and it doesn't have Toxic either, given that its only way to actually damage anything is with Scald, and of course Seismitoad is immune to Scald. At the point where it becomes a 1v1, where Seismitoad is in front of Vaporeon, Vaporeon really can't do anything but PP stall. And it can't PP stall massively effectively on account of not having Heal Bell, and instead relying on Hydration Rain, which only has 8 PP, as opposed to, I think, the 16 that Heal Bell has.
I believe so. I will double check though.
Yeah, it's like 16 or 24. I forget which. It's not 32 though.
Actually, heal also only has hate.
Oh, does it really? Wait, then what's the one?
Oh, aromatherapy is also hate. Okay, well, I guess it doesn't make a difference.
Maybe I'm just being gaslit. I don't know. I don't know. Pardon my incorrect information, but I don't know. I swore that it had more PP. Maybe it used to have more PP and it got nerfed. I don't know. But yeah, then I guess in that case, Rain Dance is actually the superior option. So good on you, Cabral. But without Toxic, he's unable to get through this Seismitoad. He just barely cracks 103 turns before essentially conceding. He still had some more PP in the back. He could have drawn this out for a little while longer.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, this Seismitoad isn't bleeding because it doesn't need to go anywhere. And he's never winning this fight.
Right. Cabral, or Chemith at this point is really trying to conserve his differential, and he just doesn't want to risk anything. Like, there's no reason at this point to go into something like Dragapult or Sirfetch'd that might, in theory, be able to, like, kill the Vaporeon faster, when you could just have 100% guaranteed win by staying in with Seismitoad and just clicking buttons.
Yeah, it's like, Chemith could guarantee the 4-0 differential that he had, and he didn't want any cosmic level nonsense to mess with it.
Yeah, so fair enough. And at that point, it's a game that becomes like super drawn out. And unfortunately, despite Cabral having, I think, a pretty good defensive strat versus Chemith, he just did not account for water immunity on Seismitoad, and unfortunately, that was really his big problem. As well as he didn't, I think, adequately prep for Unaware Clef, which I think from a team building perspective you should probably have expected given how Zygarde was threatening,
Yeah, like, Chemith had literally no resist to it at all.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but it's unfortunate. There's not much else to say about it. So Chemith manages to pick up that win, secure his playoffs position. Meanwhile, like I said before, Cabral, he could take or leave this win. It really did not affect his next week's requirement, because either way, if he didn't beat Mass and Mass didn't lose his match this week, then it wouldn't matter. Like, the results for this match it is kind of a rare instance of a mid-season match where you're still on the table for playoffs, but your game, your differential even, mostly does not matter.
Yeah, it's just about getting the record that you need to slip on in there.
And hoping that things go your way, given the outcome of other matches in the division, which we'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll get to that. Before we get to that, though, let's have a look at Nihilus versus Firebolt. Nihilus of the Dallas Ducklets?
That's right.
And Firebolt of the Minnesota Magikarps.
That is right. Nihilus 5. Again, he, at this point, is sitting at 1-5, I think. By week 6. Or is it? Yeah, no.
1-4.
1-4, that's right. He's sitting at 1-4 coming into this game, as is Firebolt. So if either of them wants even the slimmest shot at getting into playoffs, they have to win this game. Whoever loses between the two of these players is mathematically, definitively eliminated from contention for playoffs. And this was, I think, a pretty exciting one to see. I think by the books you'd expect Firebolt to win, given he has kind of a longer history in Double Dip and some really, solid upsets, pretty decent placings across the board, I would say. Whereas Nihilus, he's on his first season, but he's been having a hard time really finding his footing. He's had a lot of very close, very exciting scrapes, but he just barely fell short. I think versus, it was both like Vincent and someone else that he went to last Pokemon with and lost to. And then when he won versus Cabral, he was also at his last Pokemon. So he's had a lot of very close scrapes. I think it was Mass, right? That he went last Mon with and then lost. So. Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. So Nihilus definitely capable of doing great things, especially given his showing versus Vincent, who is currently just dominating this division.
Undefeated 5-0.
Conversely, Firebolt is having a pretty underwhelming season, we'll say. He's lost a lot of matches that he was projected to win and did not make any really substantial upsets to kind of offset those lower placing matches. Losing to Skittles and losing to I forget if he beat or lost to Mass. I think he beat Mass, right?
Might have.
Yeah, I believe that Mass was his one win, but then he lost to Cabral and he lost to Skittles. He definitely lost to Skittles. So it was really, really tough for Firebolt at this point, especially because given his differential was quite low. I believe at this point he was sitting in 7th in that division. So Firebolt really had a mountain to climb. He still could have gotten in if he beat Nihilus, essentially. He needs to beat Nihilus, and then I believe his last week would be Chemith. He would need to beat both of them if he wanted to slide into playoffs. Whereas Nihilus, in the exact same boat, he needs to beat Firebolt and then win his his week 7 versus Skittles if he wants a shot at getting in. But both of them would have a really tough time landing playoffs. But this is a do or die last stand moment. It's either Nihilus or Firebolt nipping at the heels of Cabral and Mass. So without further ado, Aurora, let's watch it. Going into turn 1, Nihilus actually hilariously has decided finally to name his Pokemon. He had a policy of not naming his Pokemon until they proved themselves in battle, but by week 6, he'd only had one nicknamed Pokemon on account of having only won one game by one Pokemon. So, it was a little tough for Nihilus, but he finally conceded and decided to show his Pokemon a little bit of love.
Yeah, he felt he needed the morale boost, and
yeah,
you know, the first couple turns, a lot of trades, blows being traded back and forth.
Yeah. Comfy, quite threatening for Nihilus' team, actually. It pretty much beats everything that's not Vikavolt and Weezing Galar.
Yeah, Weezing does sit on this thing from both the grass healing move and fairy move stuff.
Yeah, really, Comfy really struggles versus like fire types, poison types, and steel types. Which both...
Yeah, Acerus is sort of like... It's not even the stab combination, it's just that you tend to only run...
Giga Drain and Draining Kiss, yeah.
Yeah.
To abuse
also,
triage.
good read on Nihilus' end, not clicking this poison move
on the steel type, right. And unfortunate flub from Firebolt, not realizing that this thing is in fact Levitate, and goes down to a pretty clean double strange steam from Nihilus. Levitate Weezing is actually immune to both of Garchomp's stabs, so good call from a team building side from Nihilus to bring that. Unfortunate for Firebolt, you can actually ascertain with 100% accuracy which of the 3 abilities that Weezing has access to that it brings, because Neutralizing Gas and Misty Surge will both show, whereas Levitate won't, but you can obviously guess when you don't see the other 2 that it's Levitate.
Yeah, it's process of elimination.
Yeah. And now it's quite tough. Comfy still looks fairly good now that Weezing is really, really low. It can actually get through it after like a Calm Mind, but it's also, I think it's somewhat low. Yeah, Comfy is actually hell low, clean 9%, so would be pretty tough to get set up in front of anything.
Yeah, let's see if the Comfy stays that way. Oh wait, it doesn't.
No, Nihilus also making a bit of a flub, not realizing the Giga Drain is pretty much a guaranteed bring on Comfy, which is now back at 100 and now down to 0.
Yeah, this Vikavolt was specs as all hell, and that Comfy had no health investment.
Yeah, very specs.
Bit weird. Bit weird on the Comfy's end not to have any
bulk
defensive investments.
I think he must have wanted to outrun something that he wanted to hit, specifically with the Dazzling Gleam, so he ran a decent amount of speed investment, but it ended up biting him in the back a little bit. Yeah, but ultimately, man, Nihilus cleans it up, hits 2 raw, 70% Hurricanes in a row to take out the Blaziken and the Machamp, and finishes it with a clean 3-0.
Yeah, that's the biggest win he's had thus far.
Yeah, shoot, I mean, it is by a bit of a margin. See what happens when you show your Pokemon a little bit of love, right? I feel like he had kind of a moment where it's like Firebolt has the Cyrus avatar and he's like, Pokemon are tools. And Nihilus was like, no, I finally named them. I've learned to love my Pokemon. And then he wins.
Do you happen to remember which Pokemon it was that Nihilus had nicknamed already?
It was Incineroar. He had named it Chad Cineroar, but he didn't bring it this time.
Okay, well, if we're still abiding by those rules, then 3 more Pokemon have earned their names now.
That's right. For 4 of his 11 Pokemon are now, worthy of their nickname. So incredible.
We're almost halfway there.
Yeah, seriously. But it was good stuff, man. Nihilus actually does manage to eke it out over Firebolt with enough of a margin that actually he is still, depending, of course, on Mass losing to Scoots, he is potentially eligible to make playoffs. And I think it's important Aurora. We've been kind of leading up to this one all video. We have got Mass of the Minneapolis Magnazones versus Scoots of the Dumble Spoons Army. This one was the match to watch. The match to watch. I thought I was going to say the match to watch, but I said it right, and then I stopped myself anyway. Silly me. This one was a big, big deal. Essentially, now that Mass has clinched the game on Kemeth, one more win anywhere in this season, and he's guaranteed to get into playoffs. And if he gets in at 4th, now that Kemeth is guaranteed as well, and so is obviously Vincent and Scoots as of last week, if Mass makes it and gets that 4th win, everyone else is out. That's the 4 decided. So this was a big, big game. If Scoots dropped and Mass got this big upset on Scoots, then Mass was in, and you could kiss Firebolt, Nihilus, Skittles, and who else is down there? Cabral. You could kiss all 4 of them goodbye. But of course, go ahead.
Yeah. In this match, you can also just see like no hulls or bars here. They brought just horrifyingly threatening Pokemon from both sides.
Yeah. I love how OU Scoots' team looks. Just seeing like Feeny, Weavile, Landorus is just like so strong. Plus, obviously, like Chandelure, pretty decent. I think like RU right now, really strong Pokemon, especially in draft. And then Xurkitree, you kind of don't want to sleep on Xurkitree either.
I was about to say, like anytime like a Pokemon stat, like offensive stat, says something that's like 150 or higher, it's worth watching.
Yeah, absolutely. So Xurkitree definitely threatening in the back. I know that Mass had definitely prepped for it. We'll kind of see what I believe to be the disastrous consequences of that in turn 1 here in a second when we start the replay. But Mass's side, he's also no slouch. Celesteela, despite being, I think, a UU Pokemon right now in terms of tiering, is no joke in draft. It is honestly one of the more threatening tier 1s, given how versatile and insanely deadly it is. All of its sets, it's defensive, it's offensive, it's physical, it's special, it's setup, it's, choice sets. They're all insane. It's stall, yeah. I mean, Celesteela does everything, and it does it all really damn well. So,
and it also does it with just an insane typing as well, because Flying Steel is just so annoying.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to hit it hard. Scoots actually does have, I would say, relatively good answers to it in Xurkitree and Chandelure. But obviously, there's ways of getting around them, given especially that they're both not the fastest Pokemon, and obviously Celesteela has access to Autotomize, which would put it ahead of both of them potentially. Depending on the speed investment. And, you don't even need to run Autotomize. You could just run, like, a super bulk set and kind of resist the attacks that you're taking enough to potentially put things down. Because it also gets access to a really solid attack stat and a ton of good physical coverage, as well as a really solid special attack stat and a lot of really good special coverage. So, Celesteela, I think, is really the linchpin for Mass's team, especially in this match. Flanked by Tyrantrum, which is always really fucking scary if you're not prepared for a billion damage head smash.
Yeah, assuming those hit anyway.
Assuming that they hit. So let's jump into turn 1 and let's watch if it hits. Actually, this turn 1 was what I wanted to talk about. I believe that what happens here, you see that Mass goes for the Pain Split. I think he went for basically the Soul Read on Scarf Xurkitree Energy Ball, knew he could live it and wanted to Pain Split to essentially split the damage, obviously. And then he didn't. He outsped it and then was killed by, presumably, a Specs Energy Ball, and then missed a Head Smash immediately.
Yeah, Mass just starting this game with a huge deficit.
Yeah.
From both like a sort of like a misread of the situation as well as just RNG, and
also reveals a pretty blatant assault vest there. You see it get knocked here for a ton of damage, but wow, that thing just gets through 2 of Scoots' really big threats immediately.
Yeah, like Scoots' speed is sounding like a lot more gimped.
Yep.
Because it's very likely that the Chandelure is scarfed and the Weavile is just really fast at the time.
Yeah.
We just see them sort of like trade blows back and forth here. This thing lives a hit, kills the Lycanroc in return, and then dies to Xurkitree.
Yep. Scoots goes back into Landorus and does actually take a Head Smash this time, and he managed to take it relatively well. But of course, if it had taken the Head Smash earlier, then it would have been dead here, or at least forced to play differently to prevent dying.
Yeah, and also, Mass just wearing iron balls today. It's like I'm not here to overpredict. I'm going to let you overpredict and just keep clicking that button. Head smash, head smash, head smash.
Unfortunately, he's got a little bit of brain damage off of that one. He does not manage to hit the second head smash, and then he goes for the simple beam Gardevoir trace strat. Unfortunately, this Tapu Fini has decided, I'm just gonna use simple and Calm Mind up.
Yeah, that last head smash must have hit something very hard, because it's just all downhill from here.
Yeah, actually, in hindsight, Mass maybe could have done okay in this 1v1 had he gone for a Calm Mind turn 1 before the taunt instead of going for Endure. But he didn't, and then he dies. And now Fini is +3 and is not scared of this. Nice honkers, ma'am. He goes for the freeze, you kind of have to. Does not get it, and well,
we find ourselves at the end of the game. Yeah,
I do think that the simple Gardevoir is really, really strong. That's kind of a gimmick strat. It's been around for a little while. It's not like one of the staples. It's not like Fear Rattata or whatever, but it's still, semi-known and fairly decent if you catch your opponent off guard, which I'm sure he would have. But of course, using Simple Beam on something that is already this threatening to your team and also gets Calm Mind and has shown it is maybe a little risky, we'll say. And then immediately going for the Endure as opposed to going for a Calm Mind, like, even if you got the Endure and popped your double Salic Berry, then what? You're gonna, Calm Mind after and then die because you're at 1 HP? It's not...
Yeah.
It wasn't well thought out. I think it could have potentially worked if he had gotten off an immediate Calm Mind, and maybe gotten like a crit Draining Kiss or two. But none of that happened. And Scoots was like, well, thank you for the simple. I will now win.
Yeah, it's also a question that this Tapu Fini specifically is one that's both setup as well as packing taunt.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a specific set.
Well, that's been kind of the MO for Scoots this season, I feel. I think that this is not the first time that he's done Calm Mind Taunt, and he's even done, like, max speed variants. This one I don't believe was a max speed Fini. I think it was a little more bulky. But he's done, like, max speed Taunt plus Calm Mind Draining Kiss, He's not afraid to run it.
I feel he's run this with knockoff before, though, instead of Taunt. And like some sort of water set, it's the last thing in the back.
I believe that the Calm Mind Taunt set was versus Skittles.
But that's very likely.
Yeah, because I remember he got a lot of mileage out of his taunting, and Skittles, again, has a team similar to Masses where that is a good strat, where like having taunt to prevent enemy setup and then just setting up on them anyway while they have to hopelessly hit you with wet noodles. Like, I think that's a good mindset from Scoots.
Yeah. And, we end up with an endgame where, Tapu Fini racks up just a bunch more kills.
Yeah. Again, keeping in
as it does every week.
Right, keeping with the tradition of Tapu Fini coming out and everybody immediately brain turning off. Like, it's bad. I don't know why Fini does that to people. It's just so, like, ugh.
It's the misty terrain. It's like the pink color. It puts people in like a very eased state of mind. And... they just don't think it's threatening because it put pink on the screen.
Yeah, no, it's easy, it's soft, it's cute, it's like a little Tapu,
Yeah.
I don't know. But that is, I think, what we have been alluding to all week. Scoots manages to prevent Mass from getting the second upset in a row. Pretty decently taking him down. I mean, 3-0, pretty middling differential, but solid enough. And that means, of course, that it is still on the table for Cabral and Nihilus to land in playoffs. Assuming, of course, Mass loses his 4th week. If Mass manages, or not 4th week, what am I saying? If Mass manages to get his 4th win, if he does manage to beat Cabral in week 7, then he's guaranteed in. But there are, of course, some zany extraneous circumstances. We will talk about those again in just a little bit. Right now, we've got to move into the 4th match. Why don't you tell me what it is?
This last match is between Skittles of the Nevada Ninetales versus Vincent's of the Heirloom Hello Chess. And speaking of, pink on the screen making things seem unthreatening.
Yeah, look, it's a cute little... he's pretty much color coordinated his team. It's like blue, blue, gray.
Yeah, it's a lovely gradient almost.
Pink, pink, pink. Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's one of those... it's like a color gradient, like one of those color wheels. Very pleasant. You know, you could have actually done blue Jellicent and put it on the left, and it still would have worked.
Oh, it's malleable too.
Yeah, incredible. It's well thought out from Skittles. Very strong team building on display.
Very good artistic creativity being shown here.
Yeah, I like it. This match is, to put it nicely, Vincent is currently at the top of the division, and Skittles is currently at the bottom of the division. And barring any absolutely insane shit from Skittles, Vincent definitely has the tools to beat this draft and to do it relatively consistently.
Yeah. Because we've sort of like seen week in, week out that the thing Skittles struggles with a lot is just something setting up and just going through the whole team. And we've got Volcarona here, we've got not the brawler, Crawdon.
Mm-hmm.
Also threatening, so Volley can potentially do it.
Yep.
A lot of things that are just immediate threatening to Skittles, a thing that he wants to watch out for.
He's basically got like setup sweepers and just like really hard wall breakers, which, yeah, I mean, when you look at Skittles' team, like breaking a wall is kind of the thing you have to do. So
hey, you bring your sledgehammer to this team, definitely.
So let's see how he did. Jumping into turn 1, Archeop's lead. This is actually a very funny interaction. So goes for the Earthquake, dodges the Toxic. Unfortunately, Skittles has been playing with, I guess, an eye patch on, because he just misses everything constantly.
Yeah. And that Toxic miss actually does end up coming into play here, because it would have killed his Archeops at this point.
Yeah, it probably didn't end up mattering that much, given that Blissey would have died to basically anything except for like maybe an unset up Volcarona. Also, man, Skittles and Pinchberries are not going well this season.
Yeah, this Crawdon just hitting that Jellicent so hard that even the Pinchberry is unable to save it.
Yeah.
And it just dies.
Echoes of last week here, very much on display, where the Shuka-berry did not save him from the 1,000 arrows on Zygarde. Now the Colbur-berry did not save him from a knockoff. But
I'm gonna have to double check the stats from this one, because Archeops dies to its own recall and Crawdon dies to its own life orb.
Yeah, just a total crapshoot. Weird replay so far. But now, yeah, Vincent is ready to try to 1v1 this Slowking, get up to +6, and call it a day on this on this game. What Vincent is not prepared for is the fact that Slowking is basically the special, like, you know, it's really a very strong special wall with Regenerator. And especially setting up with Calm Mind, like, you'll kind of see here in a second, at +6 versus +6, this is not a winning matchup for Volcarona.
Yeah, I think the big difference here is that this Volcarona set is bulkier than it is offensive. And this Slowking set is also bulkier than it is offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, it's like special defense going up higher or faster than Volcarona's attack is going up.
And honestly, in hindsight, very good of Skittles to force that +6 versus +6, because the weakness policy, had it popped sooner, would have probably muscled through.
Yeah. So, ends up being a positive thing for him. Unfortunate, he can't just win off of it because this Ghost type Spectre, not Spectre, but not
Spectre comes in. I know, he's taking the piss. He keeps naming it not Spectre, and it's confusing everybody. Yeah, really, I think in hindsight, again, you know, hindsight is obviously 2020, but in the moment, it probably would have been better to try to save Slowking to maybe go out and sack either Cobalion or Magnezone. Probably Cobalion, just so you could use Magnezone to maybe get through the Mandibuzz, because if Slowking were alive, it would be able to beat this Nidoqueen. But obviously, in that endgame situation where Silvally is still alive, still at full, and still very much not resisted by any of his Pokemon, I think barring good luck with like a crit or something, or just a lot of very aggressive, like, I can read your mind doubling, I think Vincent probably still would have won.
Yeah, there are like a bunch of things early on that maybe could have gone better, because after Archeops had taken, you know, most of its own health with Head Smash, Blissey was actually still alive, and he could have potentially gone into Cobalion as the Archeops was stuck in the fetus.
Yeah, or he could have like hit just a soft boiled there, right? If he'd hit the first Toxic, he could have soft boiled up, and Archeops would have died. He would have been at good enough HP to deal with Volcarona potentially.
Mm-hmm. Just a few little things here. That list didn't need it either. It is unfortunate of the toxic miss.
Yeah.
Can't really change anything about that.
Yeah. Honestly, in hindsight, I think that, I'm saying hindsight a lot, but I feel like Skittles actually did bring a pretty good squad and had a fairly solid game plan. This was a lot closer than a lot of the other games that you see, even though it's still like a solid 3-0 differential. I think that Skittles had a lot of tools, and especially if things had gone maybe a little more his way at the beginning of the game, I think that could have cascaded down into a potential win, given the tools that he had, if he was playing super sharp.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the way, this is the world that we're living in right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Vincent taking it 3-0 over Skittles, just sort of keeping his dominant lead over everybody else, not really caring. And let's go and take a peek at what that does for our standings.
Yeah, let's have a look. I actually don't even have them open. Give me just a moment. Oof, I was not prepared. All right.
Yeah, we've got Vincent, you know, still in first place, 6-0, plus 18 differential. You know, sitting very cozy.
Yeah.
The only thing that he could potentially still happen to him is that he drops to second place, as held by Scoots right now, who's 5-1, with the exact same differential.
Plus 18, that's right.
So, their match next week actually gets to decide who is first place and who is going to be second place.
Yep.
And depending on if Scoots loses hard enough and Kenneth wins hard enough, Kenneth could also overtake Scoot still.
That is true. It would be tough, not necessarily off the table, but I would be surprised to see Vincent go fully undefeated and then just get his ass beat like week 7. You know, he could lose to Scoots. Definitely, Scoots I think is his strongest opponent in this entire division, and they have yet to play, which is pretty exciting from a spectator perspective. But still, you know, he's been able to hold steady 0 losses this whole time. I think if he does lose to Scoots, it's probably going to be a fairly narrow loss.
Yeah, imagine being the kind of loser who goes like undefeated for 6 weeks in a row and then loses in the last week.
Could you imagine how gratifying it would be to be the one to do that to somebody?
Yeah. Then we have in third place Kenneth with his 4-2 record at the moment, guaranteed playoffs. He can't be knocked out anymore. He can be knocked down to 4th place still, you know, where Mass is right now with a 3-3 record.
Yep.
Actually, can he?
I think that...
No, the differential is too big.
Okay, so the differential is... Actually, yeah, you're right. No, he cannot be knocked down. Wow, you're right, yeah. If Firebolt 6-0's Kenneth and Mass 6-0's Cabral, then he'll be off by just 1 differential. So yeah,
so,
it's currently, yeah, no, so top 3 are essentially confirmed. Not in that order, but...
yeah, it's basically Scoots is still a variable. Scoots can go 1 up or can go 1 down.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a good way to look at it. Unfortunately, on the bottom half of bracket, things are very dire. Cabral sitting in 5th place currently at 2-4, -2 differential. Like we said before, his loss this week really was not that bad. It actually ends up not mattering in the grand scheme of things, especially given that his differential is currently over Mass's. If it was over or even equal to Mass's -3, it would come down to this anyway. Essentially, if Mass wins versus Cabral, he's guaranteed in. But if Cabral beats Mass, that guarantees put him above Mass. Although, interestingly, it does not guarantee Cabral gets playoffs because of our wild card Nihilus in 6th place, the Dallas Ducklets at 2-4 with a -6 differential. Dallas Ducklets, all right. Nihilus can actually climb in above both Cabral and Mass if he beats Skittles by a very large margin, and then Cabral barely beats Mass.
Yeah, the literal only possible way for Nihilus to still make it in is Cabral has to beat Mass 1-0, putting his differential at -1, and then Nihilus has to win 6-0, which would put him at the exact same thing as Cabral, but 1 differential above.
That's right, it would put him at a clean 0 differential, and that would land him exactly in 4th place over both of the other players. Which is insane, because, I mean, Skittles has a team that does kind of get 6-0'd sometimes, so that's not off the table. And Mass versus Cabral, I think, could very realistically go down to a 1-0 either way.
Yeah. Actually, who won the head-to-head with Nihilus and Cabral?
So, Nihilus lost to Cabral.
Okay, so then that is the only way that Nihilus can still get in.
That's right.
Because if they tie with differential, then...
Yeah, but there's no way to get the three-way tie on account of...
Well, not the three-way tie, but it's you can get a tie between Cabral and between Nihilus.
That's true. But then, yeah, Cabral would win on head-to-head, so... But yeah, it's just insane. Like, if the 1-0 happens, which I think is possible, and if Nihilus 6-0 Skittles, which, again, I think is possible, Nihilus manages to overtake both Cabral and Mass in the last-minute snipe and just lands in playoffs.
It would be a true dark horse.
Yeah, that would be insane. No matter what happens here, one of these three players is going to get their first playoffs.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah, we haven't seen Mass yet, we haven't seen Cabral yet, we haven't seen...
Nihilus, yeah.
Nihilus, who is literally here for his first season. If he could, like, you know, scooch his way into playoffs on his first season, after... He has had good games.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost most of them, admittedly, but they've all been good games. He's shown good decision-making. It just barely, like, clinches out just, like, against his favor.
Yeah.
Every time.
And now down to our final two, who are unfortunately no longer in contention for playoffs qualification. We've got Firebolt sitting in 7th place at a 1-5 -16. And lastly, rounding us out at the bottom, we've got 8th place Nevada Ninetales. That's Skittles at a 1-5 -19 differential.
Yeah. At least everybody has, you know, gotten a win.
And that's true.
It's always nice to, like, not have gone 0-7.
Yeah.
Or 0-6 is what you could be at this point.
Depending on performance this week, Skittles actually could still overtake Firebolt, especially given that he has won the head-to-head that they played earlier this season. Whereas Firebolt doesn't really get any advantage by head-to-head because I believe his only win was on Mass, who is, well, we'll say, quite in a different league of contention right now compared to where Firebolt and Skittles are. So I think the potential, obviously, is there for 7th and 8th to swap, but there's nowhere for either of them to go besides 7th and 8th. Which is very unfortunate, you know. I feel like Firebolt generally has really strong seasons, and, you know, he's only gotten into playoffs once, but he's had 2 other seasons where he lost playoffs by a single game.
Yeah, by like some bullshit happening,
Yeah.
either like something missing, something critting, something just barely, you know, God deciding he doesn't get to make playoffs.
Right, seasons 2 and 4 were both decided on a miss, which is really unfortunate. But this season, unfortunately, I guess maybe even arguably more unfortunately, he just has not been able to get anything off the ground. It hasn't been happening. You know, he's dropped to people he was seeded to beat. He's not been able to get upsets versus people that were seeded to beat him. It's just kind of been a really tragic season for Firebolt. You hate to see it. It's kind of echoes of, like, Nick, you know, Whitelow from last couple of seasons, where it's like, man, I feel like you shouldn't be down there, but, like, that just, you know, it just kind of happens sometimes.
Yeah, it just sort of happens sometimes. I feel maybe part of it has to do with them just sort of not being comfortable with their own draft and sort of not being able to grab a foothold of finding out what works, what are my options, what can I do with this.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, a draft can look perfectly fine, and then, you know, something just doesn't click with it, and you can't put your finger on what, and it just brings you down every week.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that, you know. Sometimes you can have a draft that you vibe super hard with, or sometimes you get a draft that looks good on paper, and it just, you can't put it together, you know. So I think that's definitely what happened with Firebolt. And Skittles, you know, doing all right. I don't think Skittles has ever had a season where he's gone 0-7, right?
I think Skittles has always managed to clinch out one somewhere.
So good shit, Skittles.
Yeah, Skittles, you know, drafting just massive bulk every time. Usually has like one team that just can't handle it.
Yeah, so he's been able to keep it relatively consistent, if nothing else. So you got to give him that. But really, the match to watch next week, or I guess they have 2 huge matches next week. The rest of them, you know, take it or leave it. But the ones that really matter are Vincent versus Scoots to determine our 1st and 2nd place for this division, and Cabral versus Nihilus, who determines, Cabral versus Mass. God, they all have fucking weird similar names. Cabral versus Mass, which determines, of those 3 players, who gets in. And then I guess honorable mention to Scoots versus, Skittles versus Nihilus, which if Nihilus beeps it or just doesn't manage to... I mean, even the second that Nihilus loses a Pokemon in his Week 7, he's out of contention for playoffs.
Yeah, it's over.
So that'll be one to watch as well, potentially, depending on if he's able to get the 6-0.
Yeah, and even if he does lose a Pokemon, if Mass beats Cabral, then at least Nihilus can end in a 5th place position.
That is true. Yeah, he can still overtake Cabral. That is entirely possible. But you know, people want the playoffs. You know, if you're still in qualification, like if you can still do it by Week 7, then that's your tunnel vision. Like you should be playing for differential. You should be trying to 6-0. Because if you don't, man, you know, no one's satisfied with 5th place.
No, having been there before, it's not.
Yeah, no.
It's definitely nothing to scoff at for a first season. Like, very well played at that point.
Yeah, surely.
But you know, if you want to set your goal somewhere, then
yeah,
definitely you want to put yourself in that green.
Oh yeah, ideally you want to put yourself in green. And again, like if 5th place is not something that is bad, like that is certainly not a bad placing in any division. But it's just like, I don't know, if I were Nihilus, I would be like, fuck, let's go. The playoff stream is still alive. Like I have to do this. I remember that's what I felt like in Season 3 when it was like pretty much up to I think it was General 5-star and like someone else. You know, I had done my part and I was like, I gotta just sit back and let the chips fall where they may, but I really hope I get it, and then I didn't, and it was just fucking heartbreaking, you know? So
just sit there.
If you're Nihilus, all you can do is try to get that 6-0. And if you get it, then it's time to sit back and watch.
Yeah, the possibility's there. Half of it's in your hands.
Yeah. So do what you can. But honestly, that's it for Week 6 of Crown Division. It is so close. I wish I could explain adequately with my words in my mouth how close it is right now. It is down to the wire in Crown Division. You really got to keep your eye on Mass and Cabral because it's Mass's to lose right now.
Yeah, Mass has been the favorite to make it to playoffs this whole time. He just needs to not flub it at the end.
Yeah, and if we know anything about Mass, it's that he, well, he can do it. He can do it. I promise he can do it.
He can. I feel it's even like more exciting because I feel it's a very fair matchup.
Yeah, I think it could go either way.
I can judge Mass and Cabral as like roughly on equal footing.
Yeah,
roughly equal amount of experience.
I'm just so excited to watch it. That's going to be the one to watch, and I'm excited for Vincent versus Scoots. Those are the two matches where I'm just like, all right, Crown Division, lay it all out. Like, let's see what you got. So, I'm looking forward to that. Aurora, thanks so much for joining me today for another recap. Make sure to check out the companion video to this one, starring, I believe, it is Cabral and Scoots. They've already filmed it a couple of days ago. Finally, we're back up to date on the recaps. Thank you, Cabral, for getting us Week 6 on Week 6. We don't actually know what's going to happen at Week 7. Please join us next week when we find out what's going on. I can't wait, and I hope to see you there.
See y'all next week.